Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com. And today I want to talk about coming up with good ideas and implementing them towards a business. Sometimes I'll get people that will contact me and say, well, they have this business idea, but they're trying to develop a perfect business plan for it. And inevitably, the problem with that is that a business plan's great, but they're not even doing anything. So they haven't tested the product out to make sure it's going to work out the way they want it. They're all over in this other field playing business, where the real business in actually getting the product working properly and making sure it's something people actually want to purchase, they're not even trying. They're busy designing business plans for something they don't even know yet if anybody wants it. This is a fundamental flaw that many businesses get into. They come up with a great idea, they think. Their friends tell them it's great, some people tell them it's great, maybe even a banker tells them it's great and gives them a loan. So they're all in, they get this great idea. They haven't developed it yet, they haven't sold a single product yet, but they got a great idea. And they're in debt already for it. Meanwhile, the first steps before all that other stuff should have been to find out if anybody wants to buy this product. Now, this is super easy today. In the past, it was a lot more trial and error. And there was a lot more work that went into, years ago I was looking at buying a business, and it was a brick and mortar business. And they had spent about $25,000 just researching the area, the demographics, what people bought, actually contacting people locally, finding out what people wanted before they ever put the business in place. And yet that business was still failing. Now, that business was failing not really because of any fault of its own. It was just dying off the times. But they did a lot of research and it still ended up in failure. There are people starting businesses that they're not even putting any of the real, actual important research. Getting a business plan together is not important research. Knowing your product is actually something other people want to pay money for. Yes, when you give your product away for free, everybody wants it. Everybody loves it. It's so great because it's free. When you start charging for it, you might find some more resistance. Your friends and family don't want to pay you $100 for your product, but they were happy to take it for free and to pat you on the back, but they're not willing to actually pay for it. That's the real key. If people are not willing to pay the dollar amount that you need to sell it for to be profitable, then you have no viable business. Now, that's not to discourage you. That's just to make the point that you have to do some basic research at first. Now, there are plenty of ideas out there. Now, you may be at the point where you don't have an idea. Okay, here's what you do. Now, you may think you don't have any ability to come up with good ideas. You may talk yourself down like that. I'm telling you that's not true. You may not have explored that area of your ability, but you as a living, breathing human being, gifted by the grace of God with the breath of life, you have the ability to come up with great multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar ideas. You absolutely do. Because you are tapping into the same thing everybody else is who's ever been a success, and that is God's infinite intelligence. He allows all. He says that if you ask Him in faith, not wavering, He gives to all men liberally. He gives wisdom to all men liberally if they'll ask and they'll believe and they don't doubt. So do this. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, physically a piece of paper and pen, not a tablet. Don't type it out. Write it down, because this helps you, the kinetic action there, the actual physical activity of writing down with your hand, with the physical instrument onto the physical piece of paper, helps you to take this in better and start thinking, what is a problem I could solve? What is something that people need that maybe there's a better solution for? What is something that I personally would like to see and that's not in the market? Or I don't see a good product in the market for that need. And just meditate on that and ask God to give you ideas. And then as an idea comes, and here's the important thing, it doesn't matter how bad the idea seems, you write it down. Every idea. It doesn't matter how foolish, if, oh, that can't work, oh, that's ridiculous. Write it down. Doesn't matter if the idea works. None of that matters. Just write it down. This is important. And as you write it down, keep thinking, keep meditating, keep seeking the wisdom of God. And do this for about 5 or 10 minutes a day. You may get nothing the first day, just a few little ideas, maybe none of them seem to really pan out. That's all right. Keep at this, because this is like a muscle. You don't go to the gym and immediately start lifting 500 pounds when you can barely do 100. There's some work that has to go into that. And for most people, their creativity has been shut off, not by God, but by themselves. And it's unfortunate because many of them, it was shut off way early in childhood by their parents or grandparents or uncle or relative or teachers, or somebody told them that was a bad idea, or told them no too many times, that where they just felt like, oh, well, I shouldn't be thinking about that stuff. I shouldn't be having ideas. My ideas aren't good enough. And they just shut themselves off from God's infinite intelligence, from the wisdom that He freely gives us. And so at first, it may take you more time. Maybe it takes you a few weeks to really start getting in the pattern of coming up with good ideas. Now, that does not mean you're going to act on any of these ideas. That's not important. Just keep on each day for 5 or 10 minutes a day, writing down ideas, thinking of things you could make, products you could make, services you could provide. What is something that can bless the world and is valuable enough that people would pay you money for? Don't just come up with, well, you know, I would like to solve the homeless problem. Well, there's billions of dollars of government money going to that, and it's a disaster. There's homeless people everywhere still. It never solves the problem because there's so many layers of problems there that are before it ever gets to the homeless situation. And no one's going to pay you for that. Now, if you can figure out a way to solve some mental illness, if you can figure out a way to help people with addictions, which is many times, not always of course, but many times the things that lead to homelessness, that could be a very profitable thing and something that would bless people. Because see, here's the thing. If you create a good product that people will buy and pay for, you bring in a lot of profit. You could also give it away to people who are in need who maybe don't have the necessary funds for it. Now, I'm not telling you give away all your products and just go out of business, because that'd be foolish. But you could do a lot of good if you make a profitable product, profitable service, and then you're able to do more good in the world. This notion of, well, we don't need to profit, you know, just make enough for me and mine, that's selfish. Make an abundance so you can then share with the world. Now, you don't have to go buy a bunch of houses and Bentleys and Ferraris and Rolls Royces and jets and live that kind of lifestyle just because you make a bunch of money. You can live very modestly. You can be humble, be generous and kind and giving. And that's what you should do. That's what I would recommend, because that lifestyle is peaceful. That lifestyle is blessed. And that lifestyle brings even more wealth and riches your way. You can't outgive God. So make sure as you're coming up with these ideas and you find one, you really find one that's a good idea. And you could see how it could bring in a lot of money. Then start working to implement how you can institute that idea. If it's a service, how can you bring that service to people? Now, at first, you may have to offer for free because you have no customers, so you have no traction, you have no testimonials, and so who's going to trust you? So you might do it for free at first. That's all right. That's not your long-term business strategy. That's just getting started. You could tell the people, just be completely honest with them. Don't lie to people. Lying's terrible in business, terrible in life. You shouldn't be doing it at all. Just tell them honestly, I'm just starting this business. It's new, and I want to work out my processes and make it as efficient and effective as possible. And I would like to perform this service for free for you if you'd allow me, if you'd give me a good review. If I do a good service, and if you give me a good review for it, I would really appreciate that. Most people will be fine with it. Some people may say, oh, no, you're new. I don't want to mess with my car, whatever your service is going to be working on. If it's a product, you might have to get some people to test it and give you some ideas, tell you whether it works or not, tell you what's the problem with it, tell you what they would pay for it. Because if your product cost is going to be $25 and everybody's saying, well, I'd pay $10 for that, that's dead in the water. Because you can't even get it close to, at least starting out, the cost that people are willing to actually pay for it. You can't even get it made for that little. So do not be afraid to shelve some ideas for a little while until you can rethink them, maybe really meditate on them and get that product cost down even lower if needed. But just go in each day meditating and focusing on what creative ideas you can come up with, and watch as you come up with great ideas. And then don't sit back and do nothing. Start taking actions, little actions if needed, big actions if you can, and just start doing something toward getting that product or service out in the marketplace. And watch as God blesses you. Watch as He shows you the way. His light shines upon your path, and you see the steps to take. You see the way to go, and you make yourself a great success. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.